What's shaking, folks? Back with another reaction, back with some more Marian Gold as we move into the final phase of his 1992 album So Long Celeste. Thank you again to Yun. And the next track in the playlist is intriguingly titled Sweet Needles of Success. So yeah, there's a lot going on. I don't quite know what to make of it. There's a bit of poetry, but also opacity to it. Obviously, needles can be something which have positive benefits. The idea of, a needle can be used to inject or apply medicine. Needles can also be used to knit things together, but needles can also be sharp and they can hurt. And so I'm assuming, as figurative meaning, that could go in some different directions. Now, something that is sweet, something which has a pleasant or refreshing sentiment or feeling to it. Now, a success, obviously that is doing something well and or right to the point where you get credit or an achievement for it. So yeah, sweet needles of success. I don't quite know what to think about that or how those different words and concepts can tie together. I will do my best to follow along. Let's hear it. This is Marian Gold. The song is Sweet Needles of Success, and it's from his 1992 album So Long Celeste.
The circus full of smoke after all these years. Some were good, some were bad. Didn't know what I was about to start when I started. Though I wrote it all down, God, I was so naive. When you're on the show, you've got to shoot, not to sing. When you're on the show, you have to shoot, not to sing. Wasn't it worth anyway? 12 years, 6 were good, 6 were bad. 20,000 songs in my head, and a toast to all the pimps in the world. Here's to you, here's to you. Till the last bullet's fired. Welcome, sweet needles of success. Here's to you. You got to shoot, not to sing. Welcome, customer's horse. I still got my gun. I still got my gun. Look, I point at you. There's a shadow on the target. Guess you call it future. And the fingertip orchestra sounded like spirit rapping on the radio. The day they sold the music for less than a soul to a full playback pop music. Teenage hero, here's to you. Sweet needles of success. Welcome, customers' horns. I still got my gun. Here's to you. Till the last bullet's fired. I still got some shots inside. Welcome, sweet needles of success. Take me home. Take me home. Oh, sweet needles of success. Here I go into the dry eyes of fall.
Instant favorite. That's incredible. His vocal performance, first and foremost. I mean, I've known he's had a good voice since, well, actually since I heard songs like Big in Japan and Forever Young going way back, although I didn't really know who they were. I didn't have any context for when I heard those songs years back. But certainly by the time I began going through the album Forever Young, I was like, okay, he has a very distinct voice and an incredible voice. It's powerful, it can be emotional, and he does all of that here. And indeed, there was a moment I was thinking here, like, maybe sometimes I've been listening to Marian sing, I've been like, what does his voice remind me of? Even though it's very much his own voice, his own sound, there's something about the vibe of his singing. I think now that I've been going through Queen, he reminds me a little bit of like Freddie Mercury at his most expressive. There's something similar about the type of their voices, even though their voices are detectably different in terms of like the specific, vocal qualities. But definitely, this is a powerhouse vocal performance. It's big, it's expressive, it's soft, it goes deep. It almost felt like this track, which sonically is also very interesting, these piano lines, like delicately applied, like keyboard pads, but like a synth bass below it and so on. There's a lot going on there. But it felt like a song that could be in like a musical. Like it felt like a song where a character is on stage kind of pouring out his heart, thinking about his past. And indeed, lyrically, I'm the most intrigued here. It feels like it has to be autobiographical, and maybe Sweet Needles of Success, if I'm hearing some of the lines right, it's about like, because he's saying he's naive at first, and suddenly he's like singing, and at the end he's talking about like walking into the dry ice fog, which, maybe that could be like sounds like a melody reference, but more specifically like, that you're on stage, you're performing, and then, the dramatic hero at the end walks off into the fog and sort of disappears, and the crowd gives an ovation. So it sounds like maybe like he achieved a lot of success, but it came with a price tag or with a struggle and difficulties and an intensity that maybe he hadn't anticipated when he wanted to be heard and to sing and to be, in music and performance and so on. Now, again, maybe there's more than just that. Maybe this is kind of a character, but it felt like some of these lines could be about his history, about Alphaville's history, about, the world of being in pop music and so on. And I felt like I was listening to a scene in a musical, again, where he's the only one on stage and he's kind of giving this breaking the fourth wall expression of his feelings and his recollections and his perceptions about where he's been, what it is meant to be successful, and whether that is as completely good as you would normally think with that word. So yeah, just a really masterful tune, a contender for my favorite on the album, and definitely one that I think is reflective of his artistic vision, lyrical songwriting quality, and vocal power and beauty. So yeah, just a really top tune from Marian. Let me know what you think, and I will see you next time. Peace.